All right, we're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show, the iRepSports show. I am Rick Winter. With me is your man 1892, the man O'Neill Campbell, our
Yes,
special
sir.
guest, Mr. Andrew Price, well-known football coach from the Red Brigades.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure he was a past player too.
Yes,
Remember the
that's
days
true.
with big clash with Boystone and Seba United out of Moby. I'm a Seba United fan, so I remember them things.
Family.
Yeah, man. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, coach, it's an absolute pleasure that you could take some time out. Try to get you just for intent of words, get you before, but you're so busy. You're unavoidably absent
Yes.
or unavailable, but you took some time out to be a part of the show. So thank you so much. And for everybody, just for housekeeping, this is iRepSports. What we see to do is, of course, as you know, we're Liverpool centric, so that's generally I'm gonna be put at it, but we also touch other areas as well. And there are other sports that will come in when the need arises that we are ourselves enjoy. But for the time being, we have to sprinkle in and bring in power hitters like the man is the center of the screen, Andrew Price. So I'm just gonna pick his brain, take him back to some of his I don't know which days he says is his glory days. That St. George's or otherwise, but he's had quite a career playing and also um, coming through the ranks in terms of just a national perspective. So how are you, Andrew? Especially at this time, it's been an interesting year.
Yes, I'm good. Within circumstances, as you know, COVID has affected the world in an indelible way. And as you know, here in Jamaica, we have not had any football activity since March. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of inactivity doing. And what we have to be doing as coaches and players is trying to get ourselves on webinars where we can continue to update ourselves with the various transitions in the game, so to keep ourselves abreast, so that when we are allowed back on the field, then we'll be ready to go and we'll be enhanced with a lot of information and new manner of doing things.
Okay. But before we take it back to some of the earlier days, let's just go right there. Uh, we spoke to Vassal Reynolds. What was it last week? Rick,
Yeah.
or week before?
Yeah. Last week.
Yeah, and he was speaking about the whole situation, and we know that within our region, I think it's us and Trinidad that are not um in the region playing football. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but long and short of it is, with so many sports taking place still, for example, um horse racing is going on and other things are taking place. Why is it that for us as a nation we can't get that ball rolling? What is causing us not to at least get something going when we see it's happening in other places? Yes, just for context, when it comes to Europe, especially EPL, what many of us follow, they're awash with cash to a level that we are not. But at the same time, I'm sure there are things that I believe can be done. What's your perspective?
Well, my perspective is that we have to rely on the Ministry of Health to give us the green light to play. I understand that the Jamaica Football Federation has sent in some protocols to the ministry, and the ministry at this point has asked them to do some tweaking. I believe that when we had community spread that started possibly in August, it took things for a change for the worse, as because with community spread, you know that there's a larger probability of the virus spreading among the entire nation. And as you
Right.
know, football is a contact sport and is the number one sport in Jamaica and is also spectator centric. So I believe that the ministry was a bit cautious in giving the green light in August or September when we normally would have started the season because of community spread. So they asked the federation to send in protocols that they would look at, And now the latest that we have is that not before January 15th, they will again look at the protocols to see if we can get off to a start in January. So it's a waiting game. It has been particularly depressing to the players. I know, the players call every day wanting to know when they'll be able to start playing again. Some of them, this is the only manner in which they can earn a living because this is what they do and what they know best.
Right.
So since March of this year, they have been under tremendous pressure and they really want the restart of football. And also, we have to look for the development of the sport in the nation. The longer we stay away from the game, is the more we retard the development of players and the sport.
Okay, so so currently what you're saying is that no funds are being paid because there's no football. These players that are on the bench, quote unquote, waiting in the wings to play, they're not getting any form of income currently.
No, well, I know some clubs, well, in the club that I coach in particular, Humble Lions, while we have not been paying the players their full salary, we have been giving them a monthly stipend since March because we know how hard it is on them to keep their families afloat without getting any source of income. So what we have done, we have
Right.
given them a stipend or partial salary since March, not full salary, and they understand because we have sat down with them and let them understand the situation. And we are just continuing to try and engage them until we get the green light to resume play again.
Right. Now, one other question: how challenging or how what should I say? Innovative or how good has it been? So good or bad, I'm not sure which angle you want to take it in terms of the new dynamic in which you're working. As you said, it has to be from a technological aspect. Has it brought out a different side of it that you have to tap into in terms of being creative, being innovative to get your players consistently doing what is necessary to be as much as they can be some level of fitness. How is that? What has that done for you personally, and I guess from your perspective for your team?
Well, one of the things we have to thank God for is that we are able to use the technology of Zoom, and we are able to have sessions in which we could have the players do things virtually. We have also given them various programs that they can continue to do on their own to maintain their fitness. So at least when we get the green light, they are not starting from ground zero and they have some level of fitness. But with technology, you have to utilize what you have available. And what we have done, we have tried to keep in contact with them, give them various programs, tweak the programs, change them monthly, and keep them engaged and to be ready because we don't know exactly when the ministry will say that we have been given the go ahead to play. So we have to be prepared so that when the league starts, we'll be ready to go.
Hmm. All right, coach. Yeah, I'm listening. And you say you're waiting on the protocols from the Ministry of Health. The I know there are plans in the pipeline as it relates to going the professional route, right? Will what is happening at the back end, as in or behind the scene regarding this approach, will if we should start say let's say March, will this new thrust be something that will be coming on stream or it is for a later time?
No, I believe it's already entrenched. It's just that the season hasn't started.
Okay.
There is a new entity that has taken over the management of football, the PFJL, and
Right.
they are now seeking actively to get various sponsors to sponsor the league. And they have just recently acquired a major significant sponsor in Digicel, who will also be their broadcast sponsors for the league. So they are busily trying to get corporate assistance, and I believe that when the season starts, we should see a new and improved Premier League.
Okay.
I wanna interject. Al. I mean, this that's happening now. Is this
Mhm.
there are many times that we as fans looking on, and various persons have said, why haven't we gone into merchandise? Why haven't we done this? Why haven't we done that? They talk about putting the league in a format, franchise format, etc., etc. Um, what you're seeing now, I'm not sure where your perspective was, or what your where you which side you sat on in terms of franchise, or they're talking about increasing the numbers of teams in the league, etc. But what you're seeing now in terms of where the league is transitioning to, do you think this should have from your years of looking on from Boystown now to Humberland, etc. Do you think that this is something that could have been implemented from before, and it's years in the making, that we're a bit late or behind the eight ball, or do you think this is, no, it's a bit late, but it's something that is innovative and you're fully on board with it and happy that this we're finally coming to this stage?
Well, to answer that question honestly, I believe that we love football, but we don't have a football culture. And if you look at countries that have a football culture, they treat the sport as a business entity. And we love the sport because we like to watch it, we like to follow international clubs outside of Jamaica, and we'll wear their jerseys, but we'll never buy a club jersey in Jamaica. The most
Hmm.
a local fan might do is buy a schoolboy jersey, and that is associated
Right.
with affiliation to the school they attended or the community that is closest to the school. So you didn't have that type of affinity to football clubs. Maybe in the 70s and late 80s, when the games used to be played at the National Stadium, when you used to have double headers and triple headers, you used to have some big turnouts there. But I believe that the people and the clubs now realize that football is a billion-dollar business throughout the world globally, and Jamaica is a piece of the market, and we have to start reacting in a manner where we can eat into the big piece of the pie, and we have to start being professional here in Jamaica. I have mooted for about 2 decades that
Wow.
there's a model that is in Nigeria where corporate entities have taken over clubs as a going concern, where they assist the clubs in developing their infrastructure, in influencing their youth development, influencing developing players so these players can go off to other countries. And in Nigeria, a lot of oil companies and banks are the bigger clubs there. And I believe that this model can be easily replicated in Jamaica. And I think that we are now just seeing the fruits of those thoughts now coming to fruition, with a lot of corporate entities starting to come aboard to support the new Premier League. They have about 6 or 7 sponsors that they have just attracted recently. Like I said, you have to start creeping before you start running. So this is
Yeah.
just the beginning stages. And what we need to do in the future is to see how we can get these corporate entities to take on these clubs as a going concern, as a part of social responsibility and giving back to nation building.
Cool, cool. Sounds good. As I said, something that we really should have been looking to go to for some time, if you ask me. And as I said, creeping now before crowd, but it sounds good in terms of what we're hearing of different sponsors coming on board, and it's what we need, because the league is suffering without having this platform, and for persons to engage with the clubs. It is a damper, especially with what has happened in 2020. We're rolling out and still going into 2021 with the COVID-19 looming. But at least this takes the mind off, at least for 90 minutes, for the players and for their families, etc. And as you said, with the incomes as well, the salaries weren't much to speak of, as far as I could tell, in terms of the general players. But if corporate Jamaica, as you said, can get on board, because I think what happened many times, Andrew, is that persons want to see something happening, as opposed to projecting a futuristic look and saying, we're not seeing the fruit yet, but we're believing in what is coming on board. So kind of like a Milo and Grace Kennedy that would sponsor the youth athletes well, not the athletes individually, but the competition, because they're seeing ahead in terms of believing that development is going to take place. And so I think it's the same issue we've had, that persons want to see winning and see something happening as rather than starting at the base or the foundation, which I think is actually happening now.
Well, O'Neill, when you look at the landscape of the football, this has been going on for about 2 decades. I remember when I used to be at J. Ray and Neville, we sponsored the Premier League with Ray and
Yeah.
Neville,
You
and
mean 3 decades?
yes,
We
we,
go back to the 80s.
and we're talking significant investment from one company. But we don't need
Right.
one company to invest. We need multiple companies because, as you
Agree.
know,
Yeah.
football is the heartbeat of the country. So you don't need a one company to be putting up a significant investment. You
Yeah.
need several companies. And what the clubs and the executives of the new body have to do is to reach out to these companies and say to them, we have something to offer. We're not only taking, we have something to offer. We have to reciprocate and give them the mileage that they deserve for their investment. And I think that is one of the new ways in which they are going forward, in which they are allowing a lot of entitlements for a lot of these sponsors who are now coming on board. One of the initiatives that they are trying to do is that every club will have its own sponsor. And when they get these 12 sponsors, they will put them in a draw and the sponsors will pick the various clubs randomly. So it's a step in the right direction. I really hope it gets kicked off in January so we can start playing football and so that a lot of these new sponsors can see the benefits derived by being associated with the sport.
One.
Question.
Yeah. Go ahead. Rick.
Go ahead, Rick.
Um, I've been following what are the development. Will as it relates to playing surface, will there be, because I think I saw where something like they will be choosing where the games will be played. Is that so?
Yes, what has happened because of the whole COVID situation, and initially I expect for at least the first 4 to 5 months of the competition, there will be no spectators because of COVID. So what they are looking at is looking at having the game at central locations, possibly the National Stadium, possibly Sabina Park or Stadium East, where they have these games and they have them televised. So at least the viewing public can see the games on TV and on cable. So that is the target that they are doing in trying to restart the sport, where they're going to have the games at central locations, where you're going to have the double headers and triple headers.
Good. Sounds good. And
Um.
proper surface.
I want to know if your thoughts, if you're able to say, all right, what I'm thinking about is business house was always, and I believe will continue to be something that's popular. And you saw entities, pushing out in that regard, always having that going forward. And yet, when it came to our product or the national product, it wasn't backed as well, or whatever the case may be. Now, um, my thing about the whole thing is, why was that? Is it that it was poor um, public, not public, public relations? Was it that issue in terms of the JFFR or the body that was governing public relations to try to get these entities to believe in the product? Make them product marketable. Was there an issue there that you believe was um, something wasn't quite right? Why they weren't coming together and saying, all right, I'm gonna join hand in hand with the national product, or was it something else that you thought was why now things are different than they were before?
What you have to understand, you have to have a buy-in from the corporate entities that are going to support the sport. Now, where you might have 1 or 2 or 3 individuals or corporate entities that might be interested in the sport, it is not sustainable for only 3 or 4. You need a multiplicity of corporate entities to get the sport sustainable, where you try and raise funds, where you try and use broadcast rights. If you look at the world of football right now, most of the money that the EPL, La Liga, or the Bundesliga gets is through TV rights. Now,
Right.
we have a product that is well liked and well watched throughout the entire Caribbean. What we need to do is try and expand it and get it outside. I don't think the type of play that takes place in the USL is comparable to our local football. Despite what people want to say, we have talent here. If we did not have talent here, we wouldn't be able to export the number of players that we have exported to the USL, to the Major League, and in Europe. You know, where did a Shamar Nicholson come from? You know, where did a Leon Bailey come from?
Sorry, just for clarity, you're saying, what are you saying? The USL is a worse or better product?
It is comparable. It is comparable, and we watch it on TV. Why can't the Jamaica Premier League be on TV in the United States, in the region of CONCACAF?
Right.
We have that talent. We are ranked number 3 in the region at this point in time as a national team. We have talented players. We have players that play in the USL, players that play in the Major League, and we have several fledgling players in Europe. So they must have come from somewhere. They must have been developed by clubs, and the same clubs are participating in the Premier League on an annual basis. So corporate Jamaica needs to come on board and support these clubs and support the movement to develop our football.
Okay, so Trans Jamaica away, money running every day.
Well, you know, and I tell you something, it's funny that you bring that up. A lot of the clubs have benefited from the sale or the movement of these players to other clubs. And it's the only way you can replenish your own club system and develop your infrastructure.
Got you. If there's nothing else on that, Rick, can we just take him back down memory lane a little bit before we bring it forward? Where did you start your football journey? Or where did this love for football come from?
My father, you know, my family, they were very much into sports. I started playing prep school football at age 8 for Alpha Kingdom Prep in the Alberga League, and that is where my love for the sport as a youngster started. I moved from there when I got a common entrance pass to St. George's College, and then I fell further in love with the sport. Yes.
For those who are watching, at some point, when you hear common entrance, just know that we're old.
Yes. It dates me.
What we
call Pep, and you know all these new names that you have now, GSAT.
Right.
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing.
Right.
But it's the opportunity to enter secondary school in education, and I passed to St. George's College, and you know I dropped into a school that had culture for football at the time. While there, I got a lot of success with a lot of the players that we had there. We won Pepsi. We won the Colts Championships twice, and then we went on to be triple champions twice at the Manning Cup level. And a lot of the players that I played with, and I think what was very significant is that we all started from first form and completed high school together. So we were playing together for several years, you know. When I passed through the gates at St. George's College, I entered with people like Christopher Morgan. I entered with people like Mark Murray, people like Garfield Piercy. And I played with them on all those champion teams until I left school. So there was a kindred spirit between all of us. And I believe that was one of the reasons why we were so successful. And, you know, we love the sport and we love the school.
What position did you play? Just for those who may not have known. They might say what's the guy who plays for Wimbledon again?
John Fashion. John Fashion.
Well, you know what's so funny?
He plays in recent time. I think it's Wimbledon he played for, and there's some racial thing recently, but he was big and stocky, and they wouldn't think that he's a forward.
Well, you know the funny thing about it is that when I started playing in high school, I actually played in midfield. And then, I played in midfield in Pepsi and Colts. And then when I went out for the Manning Cup team, I noticed that the midfield was very heavy with a lot of talent. And I decided that, you know, Tom, I'm going to make this team no matter what. And I started to play central defense. And I think that is where I found my real calling in playing central defense. And, you know, that is where I played for the remainder of my career.
So hold
So
on.
I, I
Okay,
so
so
so I,
you
so I
played.
lock it off run at the back.
So you played midfield, but was it more advanced? Were you attack minded, or you're more
Yes,
like
it was advanced because you know I kicked very hard, so I used to score a lot of goals from midfield. But then
so what?
you know we had some defensive deficiencies, so sometimes I would be called upon time after time by the coach to play central defense if there was an injury or people were missing. So I had an understanding of playing both roles quite easily. So it was easy to transition to playing a central defender as I got older.
Okay, okay.
O'Neill is Fabinho.
Who?
Yes,
Who?
Fabinho.
similar to Fabinho.
Fabinho.
No, yeah, he's similar to Fabinho, but the guy I was talking about was Adebayo Akinfenwa.
Oh, okay.
Akinfenwa from Wimbledon. He's a
Oh,
if you check, he was a bustly guy. He's light on his feet, almost twinkle toes, and has some decent moves, but he's stocky. So, but yeah, that's brilliant that you could make that transition because persons are looking at players. Obviously, I can look at Liverpool with Trent Alexander, originally a midfielder, more attack minded, and he's still learning to play defense. But it's interesting that when you look at persons who are in the midfield or attack, it's for most would be difficult for them to transition to take up a defensive role or have the mindset to be disciplined enough to sit at home as opposed to attack. Persons like Pogba come to mind who's more ready to rush forward as opposed to sit home. So for you, as you're saying, learning the art of the attack, it allowed you then to see or understand what an attacker was gonna do, what moves they might make, and so you're able to think a step or two ahead. You'd say,
definitely, and I think one of the things is that we have to understand that football has been transitional, and right now, instead of looking at formations, you must look at functionality,
right?
how players function on the field. So, you know, you might be thinking that you're playing fullback when you're really playing an attacking player because you're basically asked to come forward and assist in the attack. And defensively, then you have to come back and defend. So I look at football more on a functionality basis more than formations. Formations just gives you a clue of what you need to do and what is your priority. If you're a defender, your first job is to defend. But of course, if you have the acumen where you can come forward and attack and assist the attack, then it makes you a better player. So as time has elapsed and the game has evolved, a lot of things have transitioned, and players are not now in this regimented situation that if I'm playing fullback, I'm just going to stay back there and defend for the entire match.
Right.
No, because of the fluency and the dynamism of football, you have several great players playing at fullback who are very attacking. And you know, you mentioned one who happens to play for your club, Trent Alexander, who's a very good player.
Yeah. Um. So who was the coach, by the way, at St George's at the time? Was it
At St.
one coach?
George's, I was coached by Dennis Zady,
Okay. Okay.
the late Dennis Zady, and you know, he was very instrumental in my development as a player. I think Dennis Zady was before his time, as you know. Himself and Jackie Bell lost their lives at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico while watching the World Cup there. But you know, he really developed me as an individual and as a person, and I'm very grateful for how he has affected my life.
Well, your transition from there, in terms of a national perspective, what was your transition like there, in terms of your reach in the national setup?
Well, to be quite honest, it started at the Jamaica Juvenile, and to date, I have a memory that I'm not too fond of. It was 1984. We had a very talented team. You know, people like Michael McDonald, Chris Zady, um, Bovell Williams. You know, a lot of great players. Patrick Poranda. You know, George Malcolm. I could name a lot of them. A month before we were supposed to go to the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers for under 20, we were told by the national administration when we were going into camp, our final camp to prepare to go to that tournament in Trinidad a month later, that they had forgotten to make the payment deadline to enter the tournament.
Why does that
And
sound so familiar?
no, and I'm
Exactly.
telling you, when I see things happening today and I jog my memory to
Yeah.
something like that took place all the way back in 1984, I
It's,
say to myself, when are we going to get it right?
I didn't
This
even
has been
know about
happening for years.
my God.
And and let me tell you something, we lost a talented generation of football
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of us either got scholarships, either migrated or just felt disenfranchised and stopped playing football.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for me, I got the opportunity to go to university. I got a football scholarship, so I was able to attend school. So, it sort of distracted me to continue my football development.
Where was that, by the way?
Well, I started at St. Thomas University. I played with people like Richard Bumpy Enland, who used to go to Calabar and play for Wadada. Richard Strawn, who used to captain me at St. George's College, and some other Jamaicans. The team had about 9 Jamaicans, and we were the Sunshine State champions the first year that we were there.
Mhm.
And we did well. After that, I transferred to FIU, which was a big Division One school in South Florida, in Miami, and I played with several players. Robin Fraser and myself used to play central defense. Robin Fraser um, played for the United States, a Jamaican by birth. As a matter of fact, he was just installed as one of the 25 best players in the Major League Soccer for their 25th anniversary. And Robin was my good friend. So I met a lot of people while going to school there, but I enjoyed playing college football, and it was really entertaining and nice. And at the same time, I got an education
Right,
because at
right.
the end of the day, gentlemen, we have to understand that there's going to come a day when you're not going to be able to play football anymore, whether by injury, whether it's forced, and you have to have something to fall back on. So I always encourage youngsters to try and get an education so that if and when football is no longer your priority, you are able to fall back on something because you never know what the future has in store.
You can read the comment, Al.
Shad Daly is saying, on point pricey. That was the biggest loss in 1984 for Jamaica's football.
Well,
Wow.
at least somebody is aware of what I'm talking about. Yes, Shad, that was very true. We had a very talented group of players that time, and people like Richie Sterling from Calabar. Richie was one of the best schoolboy goalkeepers, but he could also play centre forward. I mean, real talented players that were not able to get the opportunity to really go on the world stage. Because I am particularly sure if that team had gone to Trinidad, we would have qualified for the Youth World Cup that year.
You're talking
So
almost 40
means
years,
so it
and
means
Yeah.
a
and that,
setback.
yeah, and that's the problem now, Al, that these things are not new. So that's a part of the issue that I had after you, Andrew, that many persons are saying, boy, the overseas man, which is usually the ones not born here and whatever, and who don't know the national anthem and them this and every minute they must stir up trouble. Yet you, a son of the soil, born and bred and the whole works, have endured similar issues with the program not coming to fruition. And as you said, it's something that pains you because you really believe, based on the personnel that was there, that you guys would have done exceptionally well. And for a youngster, I remember me doing track and other things. When you as a team, I mean, obviously you get older, you move on, and so, but some things still linger. And, boy, and you're saying like, boy, I wish, if only, if only, if only. And you hate to have those things in your life that say, if only, you know. And I'm sure that is one of the things that, as I said, you look back and you just shake your head and like, boy, if only we had
You
that.
know, it's funny that you bring up this conversation because me and several other players have sat down over time and we have spoken about it. And every time we meet together, if we haven't seen each other for years, we always come back to the same story. If if we had gotten the opportunity, if we had gone to Trinidad, boy, the man that make us come at training and we just didn't get an opportunity to go, you know. And this has been happening in Jamaica from the 70s. We have
Wow.
lost several generations
Generation of
of
good footballers.
excellent footballer. A lot of people believe that football only started in Jamaica in 98, which is
Yes.
crazy.
Yes. Yes.
People have to understand the opportunities that were presented by Rene Simonis coming to Jamaica through the vision of Captain Burrell, God rest his soul. And anybody might want to say anything they want to say about Captain Burrell. Captain Burrell did a lot of good for Jamaica. Right? And that cannot be taken away. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Everybody has their shortcomings, everybody has their skeletons. The fact of the matter is, though, he was bold enough to bring Rene Simonis to come to Jamaica, bold enough to get that individual to let Jamaica and corporate world know that professionalism is needed in football. In 1994, when we came here, Jamaica used to play matches 2 weeks prior to the game. A squad would be called and you were put into training. Players used to walk from Crossroads to the National Stadium and take a bus and go home.
And the
Some
guys
of them
from
probably,
Mobile.
some of them probably didn't even eat
And the guys from
going to
Mobile too.
training. Exactly.
Because I'm
And
from
Rene
Montego Bay. Yep, you know that.
and Rene Simonis came in, made it professional. He got corporate Jamaica to come aboard. You had to adopt a player program. The players were in camp constantly. And that was the reason why we had the success. He brought a level of professionalism to the team.
And,
So a lot of players were lost during the 70s and 80s because we did not take the game seriously. Were not willing to make the sacrifices. We were not willing to make the type of investment. And I am glad that the catalyst started when Captain Burrell came here because it started to give local players an opportunity that once you play for the country, you would be given an opportunity to expose yourselves and possibly start playing overseas. Players who would never have dreamed of playing outside of Jamaica now had an opportunity. And I believe that was the catalyst. So football, yes, was around before 1998. Yes, a lot of these players have contracts, but yes, we have to say the way was paid by people like Howard Bell, people like Diego Gordon, people like Alan Skillcole. Yes, they paved the way. They paved the way. And if they didn't pave the way, they wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to play for the national team and have an opportunity to make a living playing the sport of football.
yeah, I mean, what I think about it is it's just really heartrending. It's really sad that, as I said, so much talent has been lost, and the unfortunate thing is that people have a lot of recency bias, and they just think about the persons no, and there's a lot of persons that disregard and don't think that there was supreme quality from the players who are from times gone by. And as I said, when you hear sometimes you hear the stories of where are they now and different things like that, you realize, as you said, so many players have come in and have just gone up because I think, as I said, the proper structure has been in place. I remember recently, don't remember that guy's name. I think you probably recall. He was on a good friend of mine. I saw him actually. What was one of the guys who was there on the beach in Bull Bay playing with the former player, and they were just juggling. I don't remember his name. I never heard that he was running on hard times. His name slips me now, but
His
you
name
could
Bucky
see.
Barnes. I can't tell you his name. His name was Bucky Barnes. Used to play for
That's right.
Camperdown on
That's
that
right.
big
Okay, but
Camperdown team with Adonis Maxwell and Bucklehead. Great players, that played on Camperdown. And we have a lot of players who have fallen on hard times. And we
yeah,
need to
yeah.
look out for these players. There's another one that used to go to St. Diego. excellent player, used to play for Portmore. He's also in Spanish Town, needs help. There are a lot of players. Players who have played for this country have been discarded and are on hard times and are
I've heard about
neglected.
that.
And you know, we
Yeah.
really, I really have to sound out people like Michael Toller because he has a group of people now trying to help players
Right.
that have gone on hard times. And I understand that the Jamaica Football Federation is coming aboard to give some sort of support because I believe if somebody has represented their country in a very tangible way and brought success, they must be treated in a manner that we show our respect for what they have done for the country
Yeah.
if they are falling on hard times. And it's something that we need to establish very quickly to look at athletes. And I'm just not looking at footballers alone. I'm just looking at anybody who has represented the country in any particular discipline. We should have a welfare program where we look for those players when they are falling on hard times. And that's just a personal
Um,
opinion.
another aspect of it as well, segueing from that a little bit, is that when you talk about remembering, because as I said, because persons are young, for example, just looking at what's happened recently, they don't know about any other players from before, they don't know about the history. And as I said, persons might maybe think football started in the 90s when it was far from it. It goes back to the whole argument about the museum. And
Yes.
there's no history there showing anything for what has happened over the years. I remember when I was in England for a few years, and although it wasn't, if I was young, but it wasn't a sporting museum. We had like Benny Hill, and you had not Schumacher. You had uh, Ian Botham, and other personalities like that. That stood out. But there was a museum, wax museum for them. Doesn't have to be a wax museum, but something to show that there's a
Madame
history.
Tussauds.
Right, right. There's a history to show that there are things that have happened prior to, and it gives an appreciation, and that is lacking. And I think that I do have not issue with statues that have been erected, but still, I think a lot more investment can go towards these things to have a historical place set up. And there's a lot of land. There's other things that can be converted into museums. There's a whole bunch of stuff downtown, if not downtown, somewhere that Heroes Park, whatever you want to do. There's areas that can be used for things, something like that.
O'Neill, I went to a coaching course in Brazil in late could have been 2010, 2012, thereabouts. And we were in Sao Paulo for a training course at the traffic academy. And one of the days we had an off day, we made a tour of the Santos Museum. And when you went into the Santos Museum, you were able to see all that memorabilia with Pele, with Neymar, all of that history of the club. And I'm in a little group on Facebook called Ball Talk. I don't know if you're aware of it, and it's something I've always discussed with the group of Ball Talk. It's a group that was made in the memory of former Camperdown player Jabi, Errol Blake. It was done in his memory, and they talk a lot of sports on the blog. And I've always said to my friends on there that history has to be documented or it will be forever left in folklore. So we
Yes.
have to start documenting things, putting them down, and your idea about a museum.
Very poor
Yeah,
at that.
your idea of a museum is very, very, very timely, and we need to do that. We have a lot of football history that a lot of the youngsters are not aware of because it's not documented. And unless you document these things and put them down on paper, have photographs, have memorabilia, people would consider a lot of these things as folklore. So we have to start documenting, and it's never too late to start.
Well,
Wholly agree with that. Wholly agree with that.
it is so. I thought I knew stuff because I remember I was a teenager when Jamaica won the Shell Cup. But I remember recently, maybe a year ago, I remember listening Paul Tiga Davis talking
Yeah.
about the behind the scenes,
Yes.
and it was very interesting because you saw the end results, you know of the players, but the behind the scenes when he was sharing, you're like, wow. No, how many people knew that? And like both of you sharing, a lot of youngsters don't know that. I'm from that time where I saw that team, know some of the players, but that's all there is.
I mean, if you ask Stiga, a lot of those training camps, Stiga would have to take a bus from Antigua Bay and come to and come into Kingston to come
Yeah,
and
man, I'm
prepare
aware.
himself for that tournament.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Play
and
it,
I mean,
Trinidad.
when
Uh,
the United States comes to Jamaica to play a football World Cup qualifying game, they come with an entourage of about maybe 20 players, but they have another 25 individuals who are their backroom and support staff. And this is what we are competing against. And we have to understand you have people who are going to tell you what time you must eat and what you're going to eat and how often you must eat. You have doctors, you have security, you have fitness trainers, you have so many components. And if they play a match, after the match, they go straight to the airport. The plane is on the tarmac waiting for them to carry them to their next location. Now in Jamaica, we have to wait until the next available flight so that we can get to our next destination. And that is what we are competing against. And psychologically, they are always going to be more advantageous than us because they have put in all those parameters to make the players comfortable. And we have to start thinking about football as a business. And we have to start putting things in place where the players are comfortable. So all they do is go out on the field and just play football. They don't have to worry about any other distractions other than the sport of football.
You've been around the national setup on both sides. I'm gonna touch women football a little. I think that's near and dear to your heart.
Yes, 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 yes.
But that whole thing about we saw a Rabel Morrison situation recently. We've seen
Mm.
other situations that keep coming, and people saying I don't know if they think it's just a black thing or maybe because they mostly the black teams, like with the African teams or whatever, a money situation or whatever. But in terms of logistics and in terms of what you're just talking about, paying attention to some of the details, we may not be able to do everything like a powerhouse financially and otherwise like the US. And some of us think that USA just start playing football, but they've, they've been playing a very long time. But
Yeah.
that
They were in
aside,
the they were in the 1934 World Cup.
people think that there's this thing about us, we know having to be better than them, but they've been around
Of
for
course.
quite a while. But that aside, um, there's always this thing about I don't know if it's a stigma, probably it is about those players that come in from overseas and whatever, and then they stir up trouble, air quotes, stir up trouble, or whatever the case may be. Do you think they have a legitimate case, a legitimate point in terms of, as you just mentioned, there's order and structure to what they do, where they're coming from. When they come in and then you have an issue with the plane and where you're seated, and the issues of you, people think that you're making a big fuss out of these things, but and I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of I was listening on one of the program. I don't know if it was Kalis or Hits or whatever, and probably Kalis, and he was speaking about his sojourn overseas and the issue. He was basically blackballed in terms of the thought that he caused stirred up some kind of trouble and nothing of the sort, and he lost out on an opportunity to play for I don't remember which team it is in the Premier League now. I think it was Leicester or something to that effect. But what I'm getting at is this: there's so many times that these issues arise. Where do you why do these things keep popping up? Why every single time these things keep popping up? And also, um is it much ado about nothing and the guys are making too much fuss? That's the overseas based players, or do you think they really have a legitimate point why each and every time, like the Gold Cups we've seen and like other competitions, they are making noise and are the local players actually backing them but are allowing them to take the lead and take the flak and they're being silent?
Let me tell you something. If you're going to engage anybody to do anything, you have to sit down and discuss remuneration. That's the first thing. If you have a tree in your house and it's falling down and you can't cut it down, you're going to need somebody to come and cut it down.
Yeah.
Now, when you call the man to come to your house to cut down the tree, you and him have to negotiate a price because he's not going to do it for free.
Right.
No, so you sit down and you negotiate with the players. You negotiate prior to traveling. You don't book a ticket. You don't make an itinerary until you have established terms of engagement between the player and the federation. That way, when the players board the flight, it's all about going to play football.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be done. And too often we get ourselves caught up in this situation where the players are saying one thing, the JFF is saying one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down, iron out the contract, negotiate, get it done, get it out of the way so that you can go and play football. No, a lot of these players are professional players. FIFA by mandate says that the clubs have to release the players to represent the country. There's no two ways about that. At the same time, the federations have to understand that the clubs have an asset in that player. So therefore, that asset has to be treated in a proper way.
Right, understood.
So if the players are traveling, they must travel comfortable. You can't have a player traveling cross Atlantic in economy. It is not good for circulation of feet. It is not good for the player. It's a fact of life. That is the world that we are in now.
Hold on, Andrew. You look like you need to rewind and say that soul because this is just madness, you know. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You have this player. Maybe people think it's. Listen, I have traveled in small planes, meaning, Spirit, for example, those seats don't move. I don't know if they've changed those seats now, and it's crammed already. Imagine you as an athlete of the highest level, meaning you have to perform at a high level. It's not me, little me, unfit me, but a player that has played at that level, and you have to be put in that position, as you said, from hours on end, and then
Well,
you're not.
a transatlantic flight is 8 hours minimum. And the clubs request that the players be treated in a manner where their health is taken into consideration. And I don't think that is asking too much. Honestly, I really don't think that is asking too much by the players to travel in comfort so that at least when they come to play football, they can perform.
I wanna ask you about the team that went to the Centenario. Yeah, that
yeah, the Gold Cup Centenario.
And they were compared to the 98 team, and they said the 98 team was better because X and Y. I thought that this set of players had an absolutely amazing opportunity to if they had transitioned to the World Cup, they probably could have made some noise. Maybe I don't know how many games they would have won or whatever, but just based on how they played when they played the Argentinas and so forth, just the composition of the team, I thought was a real top quality team. And they as they said, they failed because they didn't get to the point they wanted to. But I thought there were inner issues again, and I thought that there was this division, a huge division of overseas man, don't know nothing, don't know national anthem, but they come to represent us. I don't want this type of player. There was a lot of persons I heard that going on, as opposed to the local based players and why they didn't get opportunities and so forth. One, do you think that team was yes, they didn't make it the World Cup, but what do you think in terms of the competence or the quality of that squad? In terms of, I guess you'd say, comparative to the 98, and also what do you think, in your opinion, based on what you saw, was the reason why they didn't get overcome the hurdle of making it to the World Cup?
I think it's a lack of consistency to have the players operating at their optimum. Let's reflect that some of what we were able to do. We went to the Centenario Cup down in South America, did fairly well against all three teams. I think we lost 1-0 to Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. Now, these are three world-renowned teams, and we did pretty well. We lost each game 1-0, and I think we performed very well. That same team went on to the Gold Cup about 4 weeks later and reached the semi-finals of the Gold Cup. And it was the first time that we had reached the semi-finals of the Gold Cup. So you have to credit that team. Now, after that, you would have hoped that there would have been something put in place where a level of consistency would have taken place, where that team was kept together somehow so that we would have been able to traverse the World Cup. It didn't happen for whatever reason, but I thought it was a good opportunity for them to have qualified for that World Cup. We didn't. And like I said, we have to get things right in terms of preparation so that when the players get on the field, there are no distractions. And the more we limit that, is the more the players are able to focus on doing what they are being paid to do, which is to play and entertain.
Very good point there. Al, are you going to highlight that comment?
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, gentlemen. And let us be very honest and upfront.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to be successful in the sport that we are competing in, we have to start following best practices.
I agree.
There's no two-way of going around it. You know, let us not coach it anyway. You have to start following best practices. There's a reason why other teams are successful. Let us take a page out of their book. Let us see if we can emulate. We might not be able to do everything, but let us see what we can draw from their experiences that have made them successful so we can get to that stage. We always, there are always things out there where we can look at and learn from other people's experiences. It's very important.
We always go back to the 98 World Cup where we beat Japan, and look at where Japan is now. Japan, the team now is maybe a team based on the pieces we're adding, would give a good account of themselves, probably, and still a few things to sort out. But I mean, Japan has gone leaps and bounds in terms of their development, and yet we who beat them, we're stuck in reverse or stuck in the mud, and that is also an part as well.
We have to understand, Japan is not no dibby country, right? And I use these words because I know I'm talking to my people in the diaspora and the people in Jamaica. They are not dibby countries. They have money. They're young and strong.
Yep.
Right? We are talking about a country that our GDP cannot match up to Japan.
True.
So what we have to do, we have to start taking baby steps to improve our infrastructure, improve the state of our fields, start concentrating on youth development so that we can matriculate these youngsters once we identify them at 6 and 7 and 8. Stop relying on schoolboy football to be the development of players in this country.
Yes.
We need to cut that out. Schoolboy football is extracurricular activity. You go to school to learn, and by and large, you are able to play extracurricular sports. If you want to be a professional footballer, attach yourself to a club and matriculate through the system so you can get an opportunity to be a professional footballer. Football is a business, and we have to start treating it like a business.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. But so since you mentioned Japan and their financial backing or their ability to do you think we lost out then in terms of that euphoria of 98 and all of that, and then didn't take the baby steps from then to begin to develop? Because how many years later are we now?
O'Neil, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to cut you right there.
Yeah, man.
How many good playing surfaces are there in Jamaica?
Very few.
There's about 3, and I can name them for you very easily. The National Stadium, Sabina Park, Stadium East, Catherine Hall, and the Captain Horace Burrell Center. So you're talking about 5 quality fields for development for 4,441 square miles. 5 fields where good football can be played on so that people can develop. We have to improve that. We have to improve the infrastructure. There should be a proper playing surface in every parish in Jamaica that is fully maintained so that people can play there. And guess what? You don't have to actually train there, but you can play your competitions there. And that's the only way we're going to improve our football, you know. Otherwise, we'll come back, like I said, from 1984. A debacle happened, and it's still happening today.
I totally agree with you.
The question is, they're gonna say, well, all right, so you want a proper field in every parish? That's great, but that's a pie in the sky mentality. Where are you going to get the money to fund that?
Why is it a pie in the sky? Tell me why is that pie in the sky? Why is that pie in the sky?
No,
look here. There's something called FIFA Gold Program. All you have to do is apply for it. Or you think we'll get the Captain Horace Burrell Center? We applied for it. You look for a goal project. So if it means that every 2 years or every 3 years, you look at a goal project in which you continue to develop fields, then you will have fields in the country. You will have infrastructure in the country.
But in addition,
when you go to Montserrat, you drive for about an hour and you circle the entire island. Them have two artificial surfaces there. Come on, we have to. If we're going to be serious about football, we have to take it serious. We have to treat it like a business.
Ali, you're gonna say something, and then I was just basically gonna say, if we're basically the third best nation in CONCACAF, why are we worse off than a Montserrat that has 2 proper fields? We only have 1 in terms of artificial. So what is going on in our nation? Where's the money going? Or maybe I'm touching the wrong, I'm hitting the wrong notes. Maybe somebody...
No, you're not hitting the wrong notes. You're asking the wrong person. You're asking the wrong person.
Oh my!
But I'm just saying. It is so funny. Nothing is a secret. Nothing is a secret. You can go on the FIFA website and see what goal projects are. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is hidden. Seek and you will find. Go and do your research. It is there. There are opportunities there. We just need to seek them out.
Oh boy. Thanks for that, Christoph. Put that back up again, and then I wanted to put up Shad episode.
Yes, sir.
Shad is a man who love talk, I'm a virgin still.
Christoph said, I agree with you, coach. We should stop depending on schoolboy football to develop our youths. Because what happens is that, again, on this topic, coach, is that when they go to the youth competitions and the Mexicans and stuff, they're playing in the national leagues long time, and we just a baby.
Look here, O'Neil. O'Neil is a thing that I use all the while as an example, They send you a match card, Jamaica playing Mexico. When you look on the Mexican team, you see such and such Rodriguez from Club Pumas, Diablo this from Atlas, this one from Club America, right. And then you look at the Jamaica lineup.
Which high school?
Nikhil Daly from Clarendon College, Alex Marshall from St. George's College.
All high school players.
And the list goes on.
Yes.
So we'll have schoolboy players competing against individuals that are professionals from age 15. You understand? And what we need to do is strengthen our club development in this country, where players who have talent and can play football attach themselves to a club from a young age and go through and matriculate through the various age groups and continue to improve. That is the way forward. Schoolboy football is extracurricular activity. Yeah. I know a lot of people say, well, most of the people from champs normally get a scholarship and go abroad. Because guess what? At youth age, you don't have any club athletics. Right. But you have club football at youth level in Jamaica.
Right.
So utilize it.
Yeah. And the problem is the mindset as well, because they're so enamored by the schoolboy football. So some youngsters want to play for as long as they could ever last in schoolboy, when they should be transitioning from that, and as I said, playing for the club at the club level if they really want to develop and matriculate. But as I said, so many people are holding on to their school days and also being encouraged and to hold on to their school days and continue to play because they want another title. Maybe they want back to back. For what reason? They've done their time there. Move on if you really have an interest to matriculate. And I think a few players, not gonna call the names, have lost out because they've gotten caught up in the end, then whether through injury or they've dipped in form and have not been able to find that back. They've lost out. Another thing is that, as you mentioned, the guys at the club level, for in terms of age group, but the youngsters in the region or otherwise are playing at club level. So they see, and then and many of them are bigger. They are, as I said, the more another issue that we have, because they're not transitioning, because they're playing in the small pond and are able to plot and to twist and to score um 20, 30 goals in a campaign at high school level. But when they go to those players who are more aware, playing with older persons, so they actually are more mature on the field. So when they go on the transition, now they're struggling to adapt, and it happens time and time again. And it's only fortunate if they're able to transition through the rounds to be able to get to any semblance of the end part of a competition. But more often than not, our youngsters cannot matriculate. One of the biggest issues I see, coach, is that reading of the game. That seems to be so difficult for them to know where a pass is going, to make a onside run, seeing a pass. All of these different aspects of the game seem to be lost with these youngsters. So I'm trying to figure out why is there such a big disconnect?
Let me tell you something. There's a thing called best practices. Germany learned after the 1990 World Cup, or it was 98. Could have been 98 where they weren't successful. That something was wrong with their youth program.
Mhm.
And they took a bird's eye view of how they are going to develop their youth program.
Right.
Belgium did the same thing too,
I was
where
about
they
to say that
started
too.
to identify youngsters from the age of 6 and 7 and start to say, look, this guy is talented, this guy is talented. Let's keep them together and let them matriculate through the various age groups. And hence now we have the golden generation of Belgium players. When you keep players together that are of like mind and like talent, they will improve and help each other improve. And you
Right.
let them matriculate through the various age groups together as a grouping, as a team, and you continue to track them. Even if they go overseas, you know where they are, what they're doing. If they are at a college, if they are at an academy, if they are in the USL, at least you're able to track them and you know where they are. You have a database that tells you where they're, what they're doing, how they're playing, what kind of form, are they coming off injury, all of those intricate information. So you track these players and you know of their progress.
You know,
We
you
have
know,
to start treating football like a business.
one of the things I realized with, for example, you have the local league we look for. That is why maybe most of us why we are so. I have an affiliation with Liverpool from I was young, but that's the whole thing of when we say international stuff. If I punch in information, and there are very few sites now that do it in terms of all the leagues. Like I think Soccer Way and a few others. That you can see all many of the leagues around the world. But long and short of it is locally. If you punch in stats on the, let's say, JFF or whatever, you don't see any details. You can't find anything. You don't get any. When it comes to transfers, that is a hidden agenda. It's a top secret, and nobody knows anything that is happening. A various different multiplicity of things. No, you have for example, website with data. You have youngsters that are capable, of putting these stat sheets together and to keep track of these statistics. And they're not being hired, or there's no internship to get them experience something. Nothing is happening. And I think that is a problem. Before you make a comment or about, can you put up Shad Alric? Put up Shad's comment, let me read it out, please. That long epistle. I've been waiting to read it. Thank you. Put that means send up more to say. I thought it was hiding something. We need to highlight the serious corruption in Jamaica's football, which is robbing not just the development of players, but also the forward thinking of our national program. You have touched on the football museum, which will be extremely beneficial to the development program, as young players do not know about Errol Blakey Blake, which Coach
Richard Austin.
Richard Austin, who were main players in the 77 Arnett Gardens FC team, who won the Premier League in its inaugural season. If you ask a young player about, well, it seems like he left off the other part. So
No, leave it out. It's probably longer. That's a short talk. Short talk long.
It's not.
But yeah, let me tell you something. Everybody think that Alan Skillcool folklore. Everything think about Fear Boots. Rick, you come from Montego Bay. Fear Boots, one of the one of the best baller come out of Montego Bay.
put up the next
If
one.
if you call Edwin Alcott name to a schoolboy right now, you think he's going to know who Edwin Alcott is?
No.
Eh? He's not going to
No.
know.
Yeah.
Anybody know Noah Sterling? Them not know because guess what? We're
Alan
not
Latte.
teaching them, or Alan Latte play. We're not teach them Gainer Blacks. We're not teach them.
True.
Yeah.
But even the players that like Bucky, he's gonna be long forgotten, These players, because there's nothing tracking and having a historical data. Because for everything that people, there are many historical data lost in various. I'm talking about in every sphere of life. What I'm saying, the reason why you can see what happened in Egypt and Israel and Africa and world is because data was tracked. Things were written down so that people can have a historical tracking of what took place. Good night to Mario Morgan. I was gonna say that before you put that up. So hold on. Before that though, when go to youth competition there? What was Christoph saying? When go to youth competitions are the players that get it? Oh, it was
Crystal was just basically reiterating what we were saying.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so go ahead and read Mario.
Why is that we don't have a style of playing football? We're all over the place is our approach. Do you see it as a barrier for the upcoming qualifier?
I personally believe that in order for us to have a style and develop a style, we have to identify the type of players that we are going to be using.
Yes.
And when we have identified the type of players, I think for this World Cup qualifying, we need a core group of about 40 players. And the reason why we need a core group of about 40 players, we'll be playing a lot of games in quick succession. So there's going to be a lot of injuries, a lot of fatigue, a lot of suspensions due to cards. So you're going to have to call upon a lot of players. And for every position, you need to have at least 2 or 3 players deep. Now, in order for you to have a philosophy and develop something, you have to have continuity. So you have to have these players that are constantly playing together where there's an understanding. Remember, in international football, the way it is now, where you have players that play professional football at different clubs, they come in 3 or 4 days before the game, and that's the time that they have for preparation. So the understanding that the players have to have cannot be just done over that period. It has to be done over an extended period of time. So what we have to do whenever we get them in or before they come in, we let them know what we're going to do, what is our ambition, what is going to be our style of play, what is our strengths, and how we're going to use our strengths to deal with our opponents. And that's one of the things. The more we play together, the more we get the camaraderie amongst the players, where there is a set amount of players, core players within a group. I believe that a philosophy can be established. One philosophy I know that Jamaica should have is that we have speed and skill, and speed kills. So let us use it as much as possible.
Hey, coach, speed kills.
Speed no kill on the road, skill all on the field.
On the field.
That's why I'm so disappointed about that Gold Cup team that we had that I thought had a great chance to win the Gold Cup when we had players like Dane Vernon, Jamal Campbell Royce, and they were tearing up the wings. And then when we got to the
Dane Richards.
Dane Richards, not Vernon. And everybody was fearing Jamaica. The newspaper write-ups were going crazy. USA, I think, stumbled. I don't know if they drew their match or they lost the match in that campaign. So there was chink in their armor, and we went in, I think, against the US, and it was everybody behind the ball. So that was a forgettable latter part of the campaign. But I mean, that show.
O'Neill, what we have to do, we have to look at those things and treat them as experiences
Yeah.
and going forward. I mean, I never know I would have lived to see the day that we beat the United States on a consistent basis, and we have done it in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something where we have set the platform.
Small
All we
step.
have to do is to be consistent, put things in place where we can allow the players to be all they can be. And it's about preparation. It's about preparation and ironing out all the distractions so the players can go out on the field and function.
Mario Margot is also saying that England also reassessed their youth program. So there are a lot of emphasis on that, and we have seen that the under 20s for England won their competition.
Under 17 and under 20. England
Right.
won under 17 and under 20. So that shows you the continuity that they put into their youth programs.
Right, right. And we definitely have to do the same in our own way. But it all goes back to the structure being put in place and them doing the right things. Um, Quickly before we touch an area that we have to get to, which is the EPL. So we want to bring up your favorite team. For those who don't know, he's a.
Do you have to? Do you have to?
Oh, yes, we have to. You can't go by the. You can't go by the
Oh
show.
gosh.
Quickly, what why did you decide to be a part of the female national setup, and how was it for you, the experiences that you had working with the ladies, and the ebbs and flows of the campaign and qualifying for the very first World Cup? What was that like? So who called you and you said, this is interesting. I don't know if you ever worked with females before, in terms of
No.
the ball. So what was that
I,
like?
I, I will tell you. I will tell you how it started. I have been the coach of the men's beach soccer team for about
Even
10 years,
even that, yes.
and we have developed over the years after playing the sport, and the last two times we made it to the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF beach football. So there was a competition called the Commonwealth Youth Olympics that was held in Bahamas some years ago, and Jamaica decided to participate in women's beach football. We have never played the sport before. I was given about 12 young ladies, given 3 weeks to prepare them for a competition in Bahamas. None of them
Oh,
ever played
12
beach
ladies
soccer before. Yes. None of them
beach
ever
soccer.
played. Yes, they
Yes.
have never played it before. And these were schoolgirls because as it's a youth Olympics, so it was girls who played in the local ISA run competition. So I had 3 weeks with them out at Port Royal, where I prepared them. We went to Bahamas and we ended up with the silver medal. We
Unbelievable.
lost to Trinidad 5-4 in the finals after leading 3-love. After we were leading
Wow.
3-love, they hurt one of our strikers and she had to come off the field. And I think that turned the game around and we lost the game 5-4. But they played well and we got a silver medal. Now out of that now,
We did well.
well,
Hey,
they played well, I would have wanted them to win because I'm the type of person and I have a philosophy. If there's even a cheese sticks or a peanut out there, we want to win everything. So the fact of the matter is that we got a silver medal at the Youth Commonwealth Games. So when I came back to Jamaica, the Jamaica Football Federation had just decided to start their women's program because in May they would have had the first World Cup qualifiers. So they had a tournament locally and they asked me to come aboard because they saw how I handled the young ladies at the Commonwealth Youth World Club, and they asked me to coach a team. The president, Mr. Michael Ricketts, asked me to coach a team. So I was appointed assistant coach with the responsibility for local players. So we played a tournament called the CFU Challenge Tournament in Jamaica. It was held up at the Captain Burrell Center. where we played Barbados and Cuba. So first time local players were playing national football at the senior level for about 2 years. We beat Barbados 5-2, and in the final game we lost 1-0 to Cuba. So out of that experience, we saw a couple local players that were selected to travel to Orlando to prepare with some foreign-based players to go to Haiti. So then we had that camp with coaches Hugh Menzies, Lauren Donaldson, and Hubert Bosday, and we all traveled to Haiti where we qualified out of that region. Very difficult task. We played Haiti in the final game in front of about 30,000 vicious Haitian people shouting and cheering. And we were able to qualify for the next round
Why you call the people ambitious?
because they were. I don't speak French, but I know all the things they were saying weren't very complimentary. Anyway, we got through it, and it is out of that experience I saw the resilience of the girls and knew that this was a special set of girls, and that they were going to create waves. And I think that was the catalyst to us qualifying for the World Cup. We won the Caribbean Championship, not losing a game, and then we qualified ourselves on Trinidad and Cuba, and then we went to the final round, the championship in United States, and we qualified for the semifinals. Unfortunately, in the semifinals, we were going to play the United States, who are the world champions and defending champions. So it's a game that we knew that it would have been very difficult to win, and it would take really a miracle to beat that team. So we basically put together a team that would have been competitive, but we knew our real opportunity to qualify for the World Cup would have been in the third place game. So
Yes.
we lost that game. We got hammered by the United States 6-0. But we left the game with some amount of comfort because we know the real game would be against Panama. And as it would happen, we beat Panama on penalty kicks and we qualified for the World Cup, which I think was a very significant
Yeah, but
achievement. And it was
yeah,
great. The camaraderie that the girls had, the camaraderie that the technical staff had,
the dressing
everything just,
room.
yeah,
Oh my goodness! After
everything just fall in place, O'Neill. I mean, it was you just felt a patriotic ambience there. The girls
definitely.
were singing and dancing, and it was a good feeling, and it was a good thing to be around. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Um, no, obviously you don't really like to single out players, but after single out Bonisha, what was it like? What's it like working with a striker of her quality and competence? And then also, can you see her matriculating quickly? Because I think she's been at Bordeaux for what, maybe 2.5, 2 seasons, maybe 2 to 3 seasons. I've lost track of time. But do you see her
Yeah.
transitioning like a PSG or maybe England and playing a quite competitive um female league?
I
Well, as
mean,
you know, Bonnie,
PSG or Leon.
yeah, I consider Bonnie one of my daughters. I told somebody on Facebook, when was it, 2 weeks ago, that my son and my daughter scored on the same day. So people are wondering if my children actually played football, but I was actually referring to Khadija Shaw and Shamar Nicholson, both scored for their clubs on the same day. But Khadija, I believe that her talent is immense. I just saw on the TV recently that one of her goals that she's scored in recent week has been nominated as a goal of the year, and it was scored very late in the season. Has been nominated. She's now the leading goal scorer in the French League One at this point in time. She's at the end of her contract with
Yeah.
Bordeaux, and I'm sure a lot of teams will come calling for her to move on to another club. There's a possibility that she could go to one of the bigger clubs in France, maybe a Lyon, maybe a PSG. There's also
Oh,
the
sorry.
opportunity that she could
Leon
go
Leon
to
is the club. Yeah.
she could go to a Arsenal, she could go to Man City. She could go to a Chelsea because there are a lot of English clubs who are beckoning for her, even a Man United. So
No,
after
man,
this
she
season,
can
she's going to
wait.
do
She can
so.
wait one more year. She can wait another year when Liverpool come back up and join the Liverpool cohort.
So she's going to do some introspection and think carefully, sit down with her agent and look at what her future. But I believe that Khadija can only get better as time passes. She can only get better. She's a talented player. She works hard. She's motivated. She's driven, and she wants to do well. And she continues to improve her game with each passing day. So, I really have have a lot. I see a lot of potential that can be still exploited by her.
We agree. We're gonna be wrapping up soon, but I have to because we're going to do the EPL and we're going to get your predictions because we're not going to make a ball about the Arsenal. We're going to get touch a few games, but it would be remiss of me, and I'm sure I would say the same if we don't touch a little bit of your boys. Why you have such a love for Boys Town? What has Boys Town done for you? Why you have such a love for a club like Boys Town and seek to give back so often and so willingly?
Boy, I want to tell you something. I remember going on to Boys Town for the first time. Myself and Chris Haley were home from college and we wanted, somewhere to play some football. The usual jogging and running long distance. I don't even like running, to be quite honest. So, we wanted to actually play some football, and
I'll
a
stop
friend of
laughing.
us, a friend of us, Michael Betty Walker, decided that he was going to carry us somewhere to play football. So we didn't know where we were going, to be quite honest. And we were driving down Spanish Town Road. I know it was Spanish Town Road because I know where Mayfield Cemetery is. But then he made a left and started to drive up Cali Smith Drive. So I said to myself, I'll put this money and take me door, sir. And I ended up in Boys Town. At first, I didn't even want to come out of the car. And Carl Brown came to the car and he said to me, look, you have some good people down here. You have nothing to fear. This football you want to play, you come to the right place. So that started my love affair at Boys Town. And I just, from the first day I was down there, I just enjoyed what the place was about. The camaraderie what was there,
Great
the
history.
love of the people, the great history, to see the young kids running up and down and just enjoying themselves abundantly, not with a care in the world. And I just fell in love with the place. I met Father Hugh Sherlock. Carl Brown introduced me to him. And, when I heard his concept and his history about the place, I just fell in love. And this was when I was going to school in the States. So after returning home, I decided that, boy, I'm going to stay with this club. And I continued playing for the club. I ended up captaining the team. And Carl Brown was seconded to the national program when Renee Simonis came here. And I then was just thrown into coaching because I was player coach at the time. And
I want to
after
tell
I
you
stopped, after I stopped playing, I just went into coaching full time, and that has started my love affair at Boys Town from 1987.
wow, wow. That's just amazing because every time persons would ask you, what the money thing or what's going on, and you just but there's a
Let me tell you something. O'Neill, if it wasn't for football, if it wasn't for Manning Cup, I wouldn't have got that an opportunity to get an education. Football has been good to me, and I believe that if I can give back to football in some tangible way, and that is why a lot of people may not know it. When I used to coach a beat soccer team, I didn't get a salary. I did it for the love. When Captain Burrell called me and asked me to coach a beat soccer team, he didn't give me a salary. He asked me to coach a team, and I did it out of love, because I'm the type of person I'm going to give back. Because guess what? Our future is based on how we project young people going forward. And once we can give young people an opportunity to be the best that they can be, at least we have an opportunity to change the mindset of a lot of people in this country. And if you can touch one person, that one person can influence somebody else. So it's all about giving back, and I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy sharing.
appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, Al. Let's get to the meat of the matter. 2 quick questions before we touch the love EPL. One, well, I should combine them 3. Is that yes or no? Quick fire
Yes,
answers.
yeah.
Surprise, is Arsenal going to be relegated?
Nope.
2, should Mikel Arteta remain at the club as head coach?
Yes.
And thirdly, when is the next victory for Arsenal?
Hopefully Boxing Day.
With that said, Al, which games are you looking at? Because I don't see it.
What review or pre? Where what? Review or preview?
No, preview. We can't touch it. Can't touch a review. Really, because time is of the essence in terms of review wise, just quickly though. All right.
Match
Since
14.
we've been talking every week.
Mhm.
Coach, your perspective. There've been roughly, what is it?
14
just lost it. That
14
14
rounds.
games gone. 14 rounds gone. Usually the team that is top at Christmas, or basically how the table standings are roughly there and thereabouts with a few changes, so to speak. It plays out accordingly.
Yeah.
From first down to, though Liverpool has gotten a little lead, from first down to probably 6, 7, 8, or 2 down to 8, they are bunched up. With the crazy results that have happened over the start of the campaign, do you think it's due to the COVID situation? People just are still out of sorts. What has caused 2020 in terms of the EPL to be so lopsided and so many crazy results? What's your take?
I mean, when you look at even the squads that you have now, you look at the Wolves. Wolves is a competitive team. They have quality players. I mean, half of Wolves teams are from Portugal. So you have a
What
lot.
I'm talking about.
You have a lot of players outside of England that are now playing in England, and they have helped to even develop the local players. And you look at the great gulf between the big teams, and I call them the big 4. And this is Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, and Tottenham now. They are what I would consider the big 4 right now. And if you look at the gulf of talent that they have compared when you look at the other clubs, I know my Manchester United friends are wondering how come I'm not involving them. They are slowly evolving. I mean, they have spent about almost $1 billion on players over the last 5 years. So there's nothing for them to be turning about, because they should have been winning the Premier League for the last 5 years. But of course, since Alex Ferguson, there has been a very difficult transition with the various managers that they have had. And the same thing is happening with Arsenal. Since Arsene Wenger has left Arsenal, there has just been a very difficult transition to find that individual that can get the players to perform at an optimum level. And when you have an experienced coach like Jose Marino, a coach like Ancelotti, like what Ancelotti is doing right now at Everton, where he's getting players that I would consider average and not world class to be performing. Just with a few pieces, he's able to get them to operate at that optimum level. You have to give them a lot of credit, but I still think that there's a big gulf between the top 4 and the rest of the league. And I believe that the league is going to be decided by those 4 teams.
Hold on. The top 4, right now, just for clarity, is Liverpool on 31 after 14 games. Leicester after 14 games, 27. Man U after 13 games, 26. And Everton is 4th, on 26 after 14. And Chelsea.
But I named you my top 4. I'm certain I did that.
You said Liverpool.
Yes.
Man City.
You said Man City in 8.
Chelsea and Tottenham. That is my top 4. I didn't say the top 4. No, I said the top 4 at the end of the season.
Okay, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, and Spurs.
That's correct.
In that order.
In that order.
As long as Liverpool are top.
Somebody call second. City, Liverpool,
City.
City.
Okay, interesting. Where Arsenal gonna finish?
Arsenal.
Watch this.
In the top 10.
Mario Boshat.
Oh yeah,
Gone to work.
Mario. Let me tell you something, Mario. Me know you're a Man U man now, but let me tell you something. 3 weeks ago, I hear on the shouting, Ollie out, and all of a sudden, now we're not going to win the Premier League. Not happening, my brother. Not happening. Not happening.
Watch no, Shad respond.
Hey, I don't want to hear nothing from Shad. I don't want to hear nothing from Shad. Let me tell you what the Shad. Shad up to a week ago, you know. Ollie out, and all of a sudden, I'm going to win Premier League now. How am I going to do that? Tell me how am I going to do that?
Man U will challenge this season and be surprised. Challenge for what?
Even with our incompetent coach.
Chad, let me tell you something. Enjoy the ride while you can, my brother. 2021 is a different year.
The best thing for Man U to do for everybody else is to keep Ole, because the results will continue to be inconsistent. So I don't mind Ole staying. So please sign him up. All right. Let us go through.
I want to ask Coach about Jose Mourinho.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
He fell from first to sixth.
Yeah.
What's happening?
That is expected. I tell people, you know, Everton was leading for the first 5 or 6 games. I said, look here, let me tell you something. The Premier League is not a sprint; it's a marathon, and you have to be able to sustain your consistency over 9 months. And one of the things I think the problem that Spurs has is that they don't have the depth that a Liverpool and a Man City has and a Chelsea has. Those teams have a lot of depth. So if they go through a rush of injuries, if they go through COVID problems, they're still able to come up with a very competitive team week in, week out who can get 3 points consistently. But if there is a rush of injuries at these other clubs that I mentioned, they might find themselves in a problem.
Okay.
You agree, Al, because you have a Lucas Moura that will be coming off the bench, Gareth Bale coming off the bench, and is it that Liverpool appear babies running out, So is it that we have more depth? What is going on?
Yeah, we have that, but here's the thing. I think Gareth Bale mentally something is wrong. I don't think Gareth Bale is the same player he was 2-3 years ago. Something is totally off with Bale. Because if he was, Coach, I don't think injuries was keeping him out. I think and all this time he wasn't playing at Madrid. I think he should be fit at least. But for me, mentally something is off with Bale.
And my players
Ozzy would have played him more already.
Okay.
Bale, I think that what happened with Bale. Bale has gone through a very bad patch while playing at Real Madrid, and especially under Zidane's tenure, because people have to understand, coaches like certain players, and there are certain players that they prefer over others. And as I explained to somebody, Lukaku wasn't doing very well at Manchester United when he was there. But you look at what Lukaku is now doing at Inter Milan, and he's a totally different player. He's excelling, he's scoring regular, and a change in environment might very well help these players. So what one coach sees in one player, another coach might not see, and how he may or may not assist their club. So it all depends on the environment, and for you to make good of that environment when you are dropped in there. And I think Gareth Bale is going to slowly come back to his best. It's not going to happen overnight. And Mourinho is acutely aware, but he knows that when the opportunity presents itself, he can count on him once he gets him up to optimum fitness and proper mindset. So, I think it's more a long-term situation more than looking for a quick fix by bringing in Bale.
He scored today in the EFL Cup, advanced to the next round with Stoke. But the other one, let's just read it out now. Maybe some see, but not reading. The one above. Yeah, so Pistolero Frano was saying, I think the culture that Liverpool and Man City set in their team caused them to challenge even with less named team players. The next one, was not seeing it clear. And then and then Liverpool and City managers set a winning culture. So no matter who they send out there to play, it is required of them to give a good performance. Is that just generalizations, or do you think there's something um to that?
It's a depth though. You know, whether you want to accept it or not, is a depth. If the team plays a certain way, you know that look, VDV is out, Matip steps in. Gomez is out, Fabinho steps in because they know the rules. So it's not hard for them, even though they play central midfield, it's not hard for them to drop into those roles. If the fullback is hurt, Nico Williams can step in. You know, if Robertson is hurt, you can bring in somebody. So Liverpool has this access to players that once somebody is not available, they come in and they fit like a glove because they are a well-oiled machine and they train their players to follow their system. So, you know, you see a lot of people coming to like Henderson was out. You wondered if that, you know, they'd have lost a step. No, they brought in players, you know, and the players are performing well. And when you have a front line like what they have, you know, I mean, come on, Firmino, Mane, you know, Salah. That's an enviable front line. And then, you know, sometimes you play Jota, which I think was a master acquisition for Liverpool.
Yep.
So the gulf is
Hold on,
widening. Yeah.
Stick up in. Two things from what you're saying. One,
Yeah.
system as opposed to I was talking to Oral about Tracy about this. System as opposed to player quality. That is one.
Yeah.
I want to have that in your mind and tell me how much credence or percentage you give to each. Because we're talking about Klopp doing all the work or whatever, or player quality having a part.
It has to be complementary. You can have a talented player and him don't fit into your system. So the talented player has to fit into your system. If you play a 4-3-3 and that's the system that you believe is the most effective for your club, and you may play a 4-4-2 where you are coming from, then you have to adjust to Klopp's 4-3-3 system and fit in it like a glove. So if you are given an opportunity to play, you have to play the roles that he has set out there. And that is what you call the DNA of a club. Right now, Liverpool has a DNA of a 4-3-3 system. And no matter who plays in any of those roles, they know how it is to be played.
Another thing, you mentioned Jota. Obviously, we were all clamoring. I was listen. We're going for Timo Werner. You've seen him at Chelsea now. Do you think Liverpool dodged a bullet, or do you think that he would have still done well at Liverpool if he had gone there, and he's just going to a bad patch?
I think Werner's a good player. You know, let me tell you something. The English league is
So,
not a very easy. It's not a very easy league to adjust to. You know, especially when you're coming there for the first time. It takes you a while to adjust. You have to adjust to the lifestyle, and worse, Werner is in London. London is probably one of the hardest places to adjust to play. You know, it's a metropolis of England. So you know, it's going to take him a while to adjust, but he's a quality player, and I believe he will come good and he will assist Chelsea in coming into the top four.
You know, O'Neill, now that you asked that question, thinking about it, he's coming from Leipzig, that has a similar system to Liverpool. Not exactly the same thing, but there are some similarities. And I think if he was at Liverpool, you'd probably see a better version of Werner because of the kind of manager Klopp is and the system. So, like coach said, he's a quality player and he will come good.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the coach. Okay, good points. The coach, the Mario was saying great point. Mario, you know, say I go work. Where you find time? Anyway, thanks for sticking and
No man, they say he was going through a tunnel.
I told him. Oh, he got one of the last because once you start about Manu in chirp up again, you know. Great point,
Yeah,
coach. I'm
man.
seeing the German system in the Liverpool
Oh,
team, though there are less world class players, but a well-oiled world class team. I guess the system he's saying. El Pistolero, what's he saying? The language plays a role too for Timo and Klopp being Germans. Interesting. I'm not sure how good it or not so good his English is. That potentially that there are a number of factors as I was saying somewhere because sometimes people just dismiss the thing that a player come over and he should just thrive in coming over.
It's
Um,
hard. It's hard to adjust. It's not easy to leave a culture that you're used to. Come on, Timo is a young player, played in Germany, grew up in Germany all his life, to now come into a new culture in London, as I said, which is the metropolis of Europe.
yeah,
It's a melting pot. It takes some amount of adjustment, and he has to slowly get there. And yeah, I think you'll see the best of Timo as time progresses.
I agree.
Really, see
One of
that?
the things that for the first oh one of the other things as well, coach, is that yeah, this is not a bad look. Right there. One of the other things is that for another one of our players, Takumi Minamino, who just came over. I think he also has an adjustment to make. I have time for him. Some not so much. Some say that he's already a
I
flop. But
like him.
for me,
I
yeah,
like him.
I
I
think
think he's a good player.
one of the things I
And
look
some
at
of
for him,
some of these players have to understand that they're going to have to play roles.
right?
Klopp
But
has a set team right now, and for you to break in that team, you have to be playing out of your skin. You
and he's
can't
got
just come in and get a Wijnaldum. You can't get a Wijnaldum game. You can't get a Henderson game just like that.
right.
You can't get Gavin game just like that. No, you have to pay your dues and show why you should be out there. But
And one of
guess
the
what? In the
mhm.
event one of them goes down, Minamino would be a very good replacement.
One of the
So
things
what is
with
the coach when Thiago come back?
Worse when Thiago comes back. You understand? And guess what? Coaches love that
type
possibility,
of headache.
when they
Mhm.
when they can go home and sleep and say, I wonder who me gonna play tomorrow, sir. Who me gonna leave out? Should I leave out Thiago or should I leave out? Maybe I might have to change all the captain because maybe Henderson can't make the team. You never know. But I'm just saying he has the luxury of quality. And when you can make that decision, you're in a good place.
One of the things I looked at with that same Minamino was his culture. You mentioned that as a culture coming from Japanese, right? Coming from that culture that's more reserved in terms of, especially you can just see with his body language, very shy, and coming all the way over and having to adjust. Even when they were celebrating the Premier League title, he was our Champions League, whichever one it was, and they had to kind of
Premier League.
draw to the celebration. He was just kind of standing one side. So he has a lot of time that needs to bed in and to get used to that atmosphere and support.
And you could say the opposite about Son. Son has adjusted completely to London. I mean, right
Mhm.
now, I believe that if you look at Son is probably the most prolific striker in the EPL at this point in time.
Son is right up there. Salah would
Yeah.
have something to say about that. But I
Yes, I know,
think
but I'm,
for
I'm
me,
just saying, I mean, I believe
yeah,
that
man, he's right up there.
Son has shown that it takes a while to adjust to the EPL. He didn't come to the EPL and just
Yeah, steamroll it.
steamroll it and burst down the barn door. No, it took a while to find his footing, and now between him and Kane, they are on song together.
Listen, man, I would take. I said it over 2 years ago. I would take Son in a heartbeat. That guy is pure quality. He's fast, knows what to do with the ball, knows where the back of the net is, and you can see it through and through. And many times when Kane is out, because Kane happens to pick up a number of injuries over the last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
Son has filled in perfectly as the lead man, and he's still able to keep them competitive. So he's a player that I have a lot of time for. Let us you know what should I do? What we need to do each time we bring on these big hitters. Rick, is I didn't get to go through the wrong bangs of Vassal Reynolds, but we definitely need to write down what Andrew Price is about some of these games. I'm not sure if you want to do just the Boxing Day or you want to because we're not coming back for a couple of the games. So you can decide the fixtures. You can decide and
All
which
right.
if you're gonna do two sets of games or one row.
All right. Boxing Day.
Or Boxing Day
Saturday
and then
morning. Saturday
so this
morning. 7:30 Saturday morning. Leicester City versus Manchester United at King Power
My
Stadium.
goodness.
Whoa. Whoa.
Go ahead, coach.
Whoa. I think Leicester going to win that match 1-0.
Oh, Vardy.
Always.
That's all like coach. I just try a little job at the man.
Murray, you hear that? Chad, you hear that? Yeah, one love. One piece of body.
One Vardy. All right.
One piece of fries. One piece without fries.
Next
I'll
big one.
throw something on that. What?
So that's that. No man, Leicester. You know it's Leicester. We're going, boss man.
No. All right.
Not because me knock
Hey.
Brendan. You know me not go Man U way.
Yeah, we know you take on Brendan, one of my coach from rate, Leicester, Leicester to me hasn't been brilliant at home. So if Cavani plays again, like he did today, I can see a very competitive draw. So 2-2.
El Pistoleros and Man U to edge it. Bruno. All right. You talk about Cavani. Yeah, I'm not sure if Cavani played. Although I don't hear anything yet. You see what I'm doing to thing that today.
He scored a big goal today, Big goal.
That goal was big for real.
They pushed down with Yeremina.
Yeah.
The ref said that. Well, it's a what? What? It's a.
I don't think. It's a club company, but I don't think anything will be done towards that in terms of a disciplinary action till probably in the new year.
Okay.
So I think he'll be available for Saturday.
All right.
Everybody want to eat them Christmas dinner. Them not got trouble.
Hold on. Why they looking for that? Click some of those comments highlighted. Pistolero said Man U to edge it. All right, so that. What should I say now?
Yeah, man.
Surely not Leicester City. Man U to win 3-0.
Well, I mean, I tell you, look like Chad look a Christmas present.
El Pistolero, which I have to agree with El Pistolero. Leicester is a bit inconsistent. Look at Leicester. If they're not winning, they're definitely not drawing any games. Win or loss. So you pick your poison. Next fixture, Al, for round 15. Which one are you going for?
Arsenal Chelsea, 12:30, Boxing Day.
Coach, don't talk. We know where you're going, and it's not going where.
It's
Bob
at
Marley.
Arsenal.
I want Bob Marley at Emirates, man.
Yeah, Emirates is playing.
Oh, you're going to receive a Bob Marley.
No, we are going to deliver a Bob Marley.
You mean like want to beat Man U 1-0?
That's been a long time, my brother. It's about time we bring back some of that.
Coach,
no, I mean, to be quite honest, look here. I don't think that Arsenal can continue to be in the rut that they are in. And I believe that Aubameyang coming back for this game will add some impetus. And once we start the game right, I believe that we should be in it. I am hopeful, and I believe that we're going to come away with a 1-0 victory at home. That's my feeling, sir.
There are a whole lot. You can feel my stomach upset. My feelings up in your stomach. That's a whole lot. That's gonna work. Chelsea going to beat. So on to Brighton, maybe the next match, maybe. So Chelsea to win that game. What's the next one, Al?
Man City, Newcastle.
Interesting. City at home, though, man.
Yeah,
why is that interesting? That's a walkover.
But they haven't been scoring much,
They haven't been doing anything.
But I want to tell you something. Newcastle has been conceding a lot.
Yeah, that's the next thing, too.
Hold on. Let me see something. Keep talking. City. All right.
You don't have to talk, I tell you that Newcastle.
I think City winning this,
Defensively, Newcastle hasn't been very, very, very strong defensively.
Yeah.
They have been conceding goals.
They've conceded 22 goals so far.
Yeah. They've been conceding goals.
But City only scored 19. So they haven't really done much offense. City has been poor still, in terms of overall.
3-0. I'm seeing City winning this 3-0, though.
No, sir.
I think
And that's being
City,
conservative.
let me tell you something. City is running into form right now.
Stop. Wanna stop thinking this is City of a year or two ago, man. This is not the same City.
Remember, I said to you, City is running into form right now. I said
They're
it.
running. They're running into a brick
Please
wall.
put it into credit.
It is. It is. It is recorded. Don't worry about it.
All right,
I
next
need to
one.
write down. Gonna do
Sunday.
continue to sing.
Wolves versus Tottenham. Wolves
Wolves,
versus Tottenham.
Spurs,
Why?
coach. You
Wolves are at home.
But
you
I'm
put them on
like,
the
no, hey, no, but we where he will wear you down and just chomp you in a time at the down, you know. No.
Like, like,
No,
like,
no, 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 boys, them don't give up. Them
like
don't
how
give up.
Bobby,
That's true.
like how Bobby give them the knockout punch.
Yes, man. Yes, man. May I tell you. So, I want to know for the upset.
But you know,
Same
say
for me.
you know, say
Same for me.
uh, it is. It is. I'm not. They can give a good account of themselves, you know. But if Raul Jimenez was there, and so I'm so this sorry for him that horrific injury, but he would give them that edge for me that any team they go against, they can probably get a victory. But without him, sometimes they miss that attacking prowess. So I'm seeing Spurs,
Well, you
although
know,
they're
them still have Neto, and I mean, it should be a good game.
And
oh yeah,
Adam
it,
One of the things I've been trying to tell people, whenever you play at stadiums without crowd, it's a leveler for home field advantage because the teams don't actually feel at home because there's no crowd support there. And because of COVID, you're playing in empty stadiums. So, there's no 12th man to assist or to motivate the players. And there are some stadiums, I know, especially in London now, London has completely locked down now. There will be no spectators. There are some clubs that are in the tier one situation that you may be able to have about 2,000 people at those. But as what is happening in England now, everything has locked down, so there'll be no spectators. So basically, home field is thrown through the window. So it's who performs on the day and who wants it most on the day. And of
all
course,
right.
VAR. Don't leave out the VAR either.
Don't remind us about that. Liverpool has been burned too many times by this bogus VAR. All right, Al, let's run to a couple of the fixtures in the next one because we won't be back until those fixtures are done. And I'm gonna pick
Boss
those
man.
for
You
you.
can't leave Liverpool
Everton,
West Brom.
Everton.
No, hold on, boss.
No,
Liverpool
but are
West
you
Brom.
skip over? You skip over the Wolves, you know?
Yeah,
All
Or
but
you
right.
skip Liverpool?
that
No
that
man,
is a
picture
must
that
win
man.
game, don't it? No, a must
Do
win
that.
game. That
That man, I
that's
said,
a
gonna
Allardyce.
gimme.
win that.
That's a gimme. That's a gimme
All,
game.
all Sam Allardyce give up already. Man say too early to take on Liverpool.
Then a must man. Our man must get a job. And the first fixture the man have is against
No, but you
Liverpool.
know what? But I
Eh?
want to tell you something. What hurt me with Sal Allardyce. Him just come at the club and instead of him a talk about him first match, him a talk about Arsenal in a relegation fight. First thing come out time out.
Oh,
Him try
coach,
to think about win him first match.
coach, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why that burn you
Go.
so much?
Eh? White Bird so what?
Why that burn you so much? Yeah.
Cause Allardyce was just coach. Him chat too much.
May I agree still though. We can't even
Start
say
think
that.
some
Hello.
chat too much money. Hey, let me tell you something. If you
The
think
worst-
Marina love play mind games, Sam Allardyce are the king of that. Just love chat up
Hello.
his mouth.
The man named Sam Allardino. My lord, the
Yeah,
general.
man.
Italian
All
coach.
right.
Sam Allardino. No, what I love most, what I love about it, is our coach Price. Just take it on, so it's just burn him skin. Says
No,
Sam just have to take
because
on him.
it's fresh. In first news conference, you not talk about you not talk about the team where you're gonna play. The first thing come out of here, my boy. Arsenal is in the relegation zone with us now. Oh gosh.
Man, I look company.
Get
Hold
on
on.
with it, Sam. Get on with it.
Hold on. If you are only what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 slots above them. They're in 19th and you're in 15th.
Yeah,
so
but I'm above. But I'm above him. I'm above him. I'm not in the relegation zone. I'm
you're
not.
closer to relegation than you are to doing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
For
don't say
now.
anything, coach. Let that so. All right, two matches I'm looking at. If there's a third, I can look at it. Everton, Man City. Everton at home. Um, um, Ancelotti has done a brilliant job, I believe, with this Everton unit. Calvert-Lewin scoring goals. I think Richarlison will be a big miss. He had got an injury today. I'm not sure how severe that injury was, but without Richarlison, though, and that's going into the previous fixture as well against Sheffield and then City. I'm not sure how long he'll be out, but Richarlison, when he's out, they've lost. When he's in, they've won and drawn, as far as I can recall. But Everton City, how do you think that's gonna go? They're projecting 2 games ahead.
I believe that City will win that game. As I said, I think City is running into some form right now.
Okay.
Jesus is up front and Aguero is basically coming off the bench. So he has a 1-2 punch in the event that he needs to get a goal. He can bring on Aguero, but I think they're firing on all cylinders. Raheem is still popping up and getting goals. Foden is playing very well right now. So I think they should be able to get the better of Everton.
Al,
1-1 draw.
I believe so. I don't see City. City is just not up to the levels for me. I don't see them rounding. Them going more like a roundabout. I don't see them rounding into any form. So
Carl,
I'm yet to see
reason why
that.
I say that. Reason why I say that. Carlo is going to, City play positional football. Carlo is going to typical Italian job.
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's
Ancelotti.
see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. It's
Let's
coming.
see.
It's not. Oh, Shad is saying that Richarlison is good. Okay, I thought he was because he was taken off. So Richarlison is gonna give them another option on that left hand side. So the next fixture that I'm looking at is by the way, okay, I'll ask at the end, coach. Just put in your mind your take on Leeds. Can they sustain it over the course of the season with their high flying conceding a bugger goals? We can take that when the finishes. Man U versus Wolves. Man U at home. Coach.
Man U at home. I believe
Yeah.
playing at home, the comfort of Old Trafford, I believe that they'll be able to get a win. Um, you know what I've noticed at Man U, whenever Marshall and Rashford plays together, they
Mhm.
always seem to do well. And if they can continue to get both of them on the field, even with Cavani on the field, at the same time, I believe that they could make some inroads and do some damage as the season progresses. I
You-
think
You're going
Ole
against the
was
word, man. Wants to do
no,
what?
I think inroads to move up the table.
To where?
I believe that they have been trying to push the youngsters a little bit too much. People like Greenwood,
Yeah.
and I believe that right now they need the experience of people like Cavani and Marshall and Rashford out there on the field more frequently. And
Coach,
if
my coach,
they
man, you beat
continue
one.
to do that,
Where is you finishing?
no, if they continue to do that, I believe that they will move up the table.
You are there in third now.
Not my team though. Not my team.
We know the world no more. You're a team in 15. All right, let's go. Last fixture. No, I think that covers it. So Leeds. Give me a take on Leeds. Bielsa, not a bad coach. In look
Look,
over people's fence, but not a bad coach. What do you think
look
about
here. One Leeds will be in the Premier League for next season. That much I can tell you. And they play the type of football that I want to say. Attacking, free flowing. Yeah, they might concede goals, but guess what? They're gonna give you an entertaining game. And I believe with a man like Bielsa, they'll be in the league.
the league? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll anything for coach before we release him and we wrap up for the night.
No, that's it.
Coach, from you, what will you like any parting words for your fans like Shad and Marion?
I am saying that what I've liked with this EPL season since that started is that it has been very competitive. And on
It's true.
any given match day, if a team is not prepared to play, they are going to suffer. And I
Agree.
hope Arsenal stops their suffering quickly.
We won't We don't think it will. You're approaching 20 years after first coach. You can't believe so much time has gone by.
Yeah,
Oh,
can you imagine?
I was flirting with the thought of maybe an 85-point championship. Um, what do you think the points will be? How much points do you think we will win this league?
I think around 80. Around 80.
Yeah, I was saying high 70s, maybe low 80s wouldn't be
I
because
mean, it's not going to be a runaway train like it was last year, but
definitely I agree.
I believe that I think Liverpool will possibly separate themselves by March from the rest of the bunch.
Okay, okay. Um, that sounds good.
The only thing is that playing in two competitions can be a bit challenging because Klopp is a man that like play too much match in quick succession. So I guess he's kind of happy he's not in the League Cup, so he can concentrate on the EPL and the Champions League. But playing two competitions at one time can be challenging at times.
Understood. Understood. Um, well, before we go, please, as you see, scrolling on the bottom of the screen, different ways to get in to keep in touch with iRepSports. Like, comment, share, hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. There's a notification also on Facebook to know when we're gonna have our next show. It's usually Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Just like this. Coach Andrew Price, listen, man, it's an absolute pleasure that you came on board and took some banter. Um, Not a problem at all. But you dished it out as well.
That is part and parcel of the game.
You dished it out as well for some of those who came on board. We really appreciate your company. Thank you
No,
so much
thanks
for
for having me, gentlemen. It was a pleasure to share with you. And like I said, at the end of the day, we want to see good quality football both
Yeah.
here in Jamaica and overseas. So that is our aim, to allow the football to flow, because we can enjoy this game and it's a game that we all love. So let us make it good where everybody can enjoy it.
appreciate that, coach. Appreciate your time. Guys, thank you again for joining us for another IREP Sports. Join us again next time when we have maybe another guest, or Al and I will be giving trouble. Who knows? I will be talking sports again. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
All right. Good
Okay.
night, everyone.
Good night.